Welcome back to the Morning Blend Extra. Joining us now is Kyle Kite with Kloss Financial. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously this time of year, we're kind of talking a little bit about spring cleaning, but obviously that's never a bad idea to even do with your finances. So starting things off here, what are kind of some things that people should freshen up on each year regarding their finances?
Yeah, well, the first thing obviously is a lot of people either get raises at the beginning of the year or maybe you've changed jobs recently or something like that. So definitely you want to make sure that you're fully aware of what's coming in and what's going out. When we talk about budgeting and that kind of stuff is always a big thing to be aware of course. And it's a good time of year to maybe make some adjustments to your 401k allocations or something like that. People just got done with tax season. Maybe you need to adjust your tax withholding on your paycheck. Those types of things are something that you should check out.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that something that you kind of like to recommend? Because I know, obviously, like you mentioned, now is kind of the time where people are kind of taking a look at their taxes, banking stuff, things along those lines. Do you think now is the best time, or is there really any time that anybody can sign up?
Yeah, really, it's top of mind right now, so that's why most people do it now. But it is something that you should always be aware of. I know I personally do it towards the end of the year, first part of the beginning of the year, but if you haven't gotten around to it with the holidays and all that kind of stuff, it's never a bad time to make sure you understand what's going on in your financial picture.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely busy, and of course, people are distracted by the beautiful weather we've been having here lately.
Yep.
But then, of course, what are some ways that people can stay on top of their cash flow as well?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned this before, but you really need to have a budget. I know it's a bad word. People don't like that word sometimes, but it is very, very important. You have to know what's going in versus what's going out, so that way you can understand where your dollars are going and what you should be doing with those types of things. And it's also a good time of year. We're all very, we're all aware that maybe we've got a few more subscriptions than we should have and that kind of stuff. So those are perfect little things. Just to pick one or two a week. It's never fun, getting on the phone and calling and canceling or dealing with your DirecTV or Comcast or whoever. But this is a good time of year to kind of reevaluate those things. And you might free up a few bucks each month doing something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, just kind of, could you give us some quick little bullet points, when people are thinking, hey, maybe I should be taking a look at my budget, or hey, maybe I need to start a budget. What are maybe those first 3 steps people should be looking at or thinking about?
Yeah, it's important to know obviously what your net pay is, because so many people get focused on, okay, this is my salary or this is my hourly rate, but you got to remember you're paying into Social Security, you're paying into your 401k, those types of things. So it really is what hits your bank account, and that's what you should base your budget off of. And it's important, there's some rules of thumb out there. For instance, houses shouldn't be more than 25% of your net take-home pay. Keep car payments to a minimum. Obviously, they're a necessary evil in this area, probably getting to work and all that kind of stuff. So you got to have a reliable car, but don't go overboard with a big car payment and those types of things.
Yes, absolutely. So. I know that one. I've fallen for that pitfall once or twice. And then, obviously, once people do kind of refresh on those cash flows, how can they really organize that financial situation that they're in?
Yeah, it's very, very important, like I said, to just know, because again, maybe you switch jobs or something like that. You've got old 401ks out there. You've got old bank accounts that you opened up 10 years ago that's just kind of sitting there. So you really want to consolidate that kind of stuff to save time, that when you're looking at this stuff, it's not, an all-day project. It should just take you a little bit of time here and there to make sure everything's where it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, I'm sure everyone kind of at home who's watching is been hearing you throw around 401k.
Yep.
And I know that that's something that's kind of top of mind right now as well. So what kind of about looking into retirement? What should people be thinking about?
Yeah, it's very, very important to start planning for retirement sooner rather than later. We've had the situations where people come to us 6 months out. I had one guy come to me, I'm retiring on Friday. It's like, well, I hope you did what you were supposed to, because we don't have a lot of time to make adjustments now. So the earlier you can start saving for a 401k, that gives your money more time to grow, which, that's the 8th wonder of the world, they call it, right?
Yeah.
Compound interest. So if you've got time, that's going to, really, really help you. But it is also just maybe making those adjustments every year, like I mentioned before. You got a raise, maybe you should put an extra 1 or 2% in there, kind of lines up with your raise, so then your take-home pay doesn't really change, but you're automatically trying to, save more for retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of like you mentioned, there isn't necessarily a specific time when to start. It's kind of just, starting, getting that foot forward, and then kind of, is that something you have to readjust kind of over time? You
should definitely take a look at it. Obviously, the old saying is the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is today, right? So it doesn't matter. You probably should start saving, very, very quickly as soon as you can, obviously. But it is something that you want to monitor, because, you have to keep, obviously, your contribution percentages that we just talked about, but also your investments can drift over time and things like that. It's not a thing that you just want to set it and never look at it again. At least annually, you want to take a look and make sure it still makes sense and aligns with your goals of what you're trying to accomplish, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, something else I got to mention, these little piggy banks are just super cute. I'm not sure if you guys guys can see them here. Holy cow, take a look at these little guys.
Yeah.
I just love these little glasses on here with the piggy banks. And, you're kind of, one thing that I've always kind of admired about the piggy bank, it's kind of, aimed at kids a little bit, but it kind of teaches kids to start saving early.
Yeah.
Is that something that you guys kind of put into this?
Absolutely, yeah. It's kind of a good metaphor, right? Like you said, of saving early. Yeah, not, adults don't typically have piggy banks,
Right.
but you do have an emergency savings account. You have your 401k. You have that rainy day fund type stuff. So it is, like I said, a metaphor to keep putting some money away, because we all know that life happens, stuff comes up, and it's good to have some extra cash there for those types of things.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Well, certainly some awesome stuff that you guys are doing over there at Class Financial. Thank you so much for coming on to the show here, Kyle.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for a bit of help with your finances, you can head to Class Financial at 4704 Perry Ridge Lane in Loves Park, or you can give them a call or visit their website at classfinancial.com.